Hey there, Loyalty here from the land of Labubu, and I have come to ancient China to learn about Confucianism. So let's get this journey started. What is Confucianism? Also known as Ruism or Ru Classicism, it can be known as the system of thought and behavior coming from ancient China. It is also known as tradition, philosophy, religion, theory of government, or way of life. Who founded Confucianism? It was founded by Confucius in the 100 Schools of Thought in 500 BCE and focuses on a combination of philosophy, ethics, and social governance that centers on virtue, social harmony, and familial responsibility. What does Confucius highlight? He highlights the virtue through self-cultivation and communal effort, and some of the key virtues are Ren, benevolence, Yi, righteousness, Li, propriety, Zi, wisdom, and Zen, faith. They are known to be linked to the belief of Tian, which is heaven. But with this, he does not pinpoint the supreme God, but it does confirm Tian is a superior righteous order. Confucianism developed from the Han Dynasty by replacing the pro-Taoist Hong Lao to grow as the prominent assumed framework while bringing together the applied teaching of legalism. In 1905, there was a decline in state-endorsed Confucianism. Then in the 20th century, Chinese reformers connected Confucianism with China's century of humiliation. It experienced cultural force by forming East Asian economic and social structures. To this day, Confucianism remains dominant in China, Japan, Vietnam, and other areas. Meaningful Chinese departure. In 2015, the Confucian Church showed new interest in Confucian model for social and moral values. What are the 5 classics and the Confucian vision? They were the basic texts of Confucianism that were revised to the versions they are around 500 years later by the imperial librarian Li Xin. Known to take the shape of Confucianism, there was also a 6th classic, like the classic poetry was the classic of music, which was lost during the Han Dynasty. This music was important with rituals by showing harmony, but there are more scholars that were known to explain the classics. What was the theory and theological of Confucianism? It looks at the unification of the individual self and Tian, or the relationship between humanity and heaven. The way of heaven can be seen through spiritual power. Tai Li or Tian Tao is monastic, being singular and indivisible, meaning that one has to perceive their humanity and becoming one with heaven, viewing commands. With thyself it can be spread to family and society and make harmonious communities. With this, Confucius appeases the inner and outer differences of spiritual risings with oneself and the world redemption. Being that Confucius believes that Chinese must have learned the principle of sluggishness within, kindliness without. This considers 2 important aspects of Chinese. He must be an intelligent person like the sages, who is good, who uses it for good, and strong character like great kings have. What is Tian and the gods? Tian is known as the god of heaven, which can be depicted as the northern culmen of the skies and the stars that spin. With the earthly nature and its laws that come from heaven, like heaven and earth. According to Confucius, Tian gave him life and watched and judged, and thus one has a special place in the universe. Some do not see Tian as a personal god, but can be like the Taoists of Tao. The way things are the regulataries of the world. It can also be compared to the Brahm of Hindu and Vedic traditions. With this, Confucius believes that one must pray and know the gods and respect heaven. And through rituals is meaning for the sacrifices that are offered in a person while being in the presence. By having the rites and sacrifices of God, it shows the importance of others. What is Confucius's 5 constants? There are ethics that characterize and promote virtues in an individual, which are Ren, benevolence and humaneness; Yi, righteousness and justice; Li, propriety and rights; Zi, wisdom and knowledge; and Zin, sincerity and faithfulness, which can also be accompanied by Yi, loyalty, filial piety, and continence. Although there are many traditional values, Confucius sees honesty, bravery, incorruptibility, kindness, forgiveness, and sense of right and wrong, gentleness, kind-heartedness, respect, frugality, and modesty. Of all the virtues, Ren stands to be the most important to Confucius, as one must have the good qualities of a virtuous man when meeting the goals of perfection and being noble. It can also reflect on the relationships of people with others, leading to the foundation for a harmonious society. So by this, Confucius believes that a ruler with the mandate of heaven is one of great virtue who leads by moral example and prioritizes well-being of the people. We must also look at the relationships between humanity and the gods. Through the customs and rights of people, we see that human beings may look for perfection by learning and practicing the Li. By the government, we should look at the Li and place more priority on Li and rely much less on penal punishment when they govern. We can also look at filial piety, and I see this as being good to the ones who raised you. Looking after your parents later in life. With the relationships one has, they must have social harmony in the person knowing their place in natural order while playing the part as well. There are 5 bonds: ruler to be ruled, father to son, husband to wife, elder brother to younger brother, friend to friend, while having the utmost respect for your elders and mutual respect with others, like friend to friend relationship. There is also the Jinzi, which is the gentleman or superior man and means of son, the Lord, which can be seen as a person who is noble in their character and virtue. Aside from the Jinzi, there is also Zioren, who is the small-minded or morally inferior people who don't see the part of the Jinzi. These people tend to suffer because their small mindfulness. These people look at sensual and emotional pleasures and look for power and fame, and don't cast sights for the long-term benefits of others. Confucius sees social disorders coming from failure to perceive, to understand the reality. With that said, can you tell me a little bit more about the history? It is said that it came from the Shang Zhu. In the dynasties, they worshipped the supreme godhead named the Shangdai or Di by the Shang and the Tian. One of the oldest symbols of the Chinese religion is a dragon, which symbolizes supreme godhead. Tian, being the northern ecliptic pole, coils itself and is the homonymous constellation. It symbolized Prothean and supreme power, which has itself both the yin and the yang. Later, time became part of the symbols that were seen on earth from cities, temples, altars, and ritual vessels, and spread to the communities. It was all within view to validate the economical, political, and military ambitions. But if such privileges arose and anyone is able to afford the complex ceremonies, they would have to hold the old and the new rites and have access to the time. This is when Confucius came along with self-cultivation. With this, he was able to restore social, political harmony. It rose and fell later in time and was abolished in Korea in 1894. And then in China in 1905 and in 1919 in Vietnam, bringing conformity to the Confucian ideology, which is no longer the prerequisite career of civil services or politics, which allowed people of their ideologies to attain leading positions in society. What can we learn about Confucianism? It was implemented in schools, which proclaims uniqueness and superiority of Confucius Chinese culture. This is where the Confucius Church roots from the Kang Youwen, which was the time of the Qing dynasty collapse. The church is known as hierarchy and centralized branch, which was devoted to worship and the teachings to spread about Confucius. Through it all, Chinese folk, religious temples, and kingship ancestral shrines used the Confucian liturgy. Because of this, he tried to convert others to his teachings. With this, it became important in the Chinese governments, and the argument had been made that the Imperial China Wars were Confucian wars, and the two connections were not too direct or simple, but this all helped to change how one practiced Confucianism and his disciples from the prior Orthodox teachings. Wow, that was a lot to learn about Confucianism. Can you show me any pictures or anything of the things we spoke of? Here we see the dragon, which is the super head, and the different temples which talk and see where rituals were taken. I think I learned a lot about Confucianism. By all means, I can see that there is no organized religion, and it spread through Eastern Asia and influenced the Chinese literature and culture and exerted a profound influence on spirituality and political life. It was very interesting, and I can't wait to learn about other practices on my journey. Until next time, see you later.